taking the time to have us here.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
We're pretty much, talking about the new album that will be out in September.
Right.
Which is called Different Shades of Blue.
Yes.
That sounds like a classic blues album
Yeah.
title.
It also sums me up too, you know. Like, I play so many different styles, all under the umbrella of the blues, that I thought it was a very fitting title for the album.
Since I already had the opportunity to listen to that album, it surprised me, not that it is, again, a great composed and great sounding album, but it sounds a little bit more of jam situations, more spontaneous.
Yeah, more spontaneous. You know,
Although
a lot of it's cut live. You know, it's also cut analog.
Yeah.
And the virtues of cutting analog, you get that nice fat sound, but you don't have the option of rolling over that tape 50 times. Yeah. So you just basically you got to get the take, and a lot of it was just kind of spontaneous off the top of your head. Yeah.
You worked with Nashville singer-songwriters, kind of big names in the business. I wrote them down: James House and Jonathan Cain, Jerry Flowers, who worked with Keith Urban.
He plays bass with Keith Urban and Jeffrey Steele and Gary Nicholson.
Yeah.
He was these are killer writers, you know.
Since you wrote your songs on your own, and the album is quite spontaneous and pretty fresh, not that not that mathematic or structured. Not that your past albums have been mathematic or structured, but
Right.
but you work with these cats in case of songwriting and stuff like that. Although the album sounds pretty much organic.
Yeah, that's really the key. You want the albums to be worked on, but you don't want them to be worked to death. You know,
Right.
it's like you get a solo going on. You know, a lot of it's cut live, and that's just a snapshot of what I was thinking at that time. If you come see the concert, could be a completely different solo. And I think sometimes now albums are just chopped up and worked, edited so much that you lose the soul. And it's like it's not like that, for me. I really prefer to just leave the soul in it, and leave all the kind of flaws in it if there are any,
Yes. And you took yourself some more time to do this album.
Took a year to write it.
2013.
Yeah, I took a year off from making an album, and it took a year to write.
Right. Let's dig a little bit more into the album. You have horn sections on the album.
Yep.
How did that?
We've been doing horns off and on since the Ballad of John Henry. Lee Thornburg has been great. He's worked with us on all the Beth Hart stuff. Mm-hmm. He was at the first Albert Hall. He was at the second Albert Hall. He's a really, really wonderful arranger and wonderful composer of these horn charts. So we did horns. There's background vocals. There's more stuff than you would normally associate with an album of mine. But it seemed like the songs called for it too.
I mean, the whole album sounds a little bit 70s rock driven.
Yeah. Well,
correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I hear
right.
like a song like I Gave Up Everything for You, Except the Blues, has some Frank Marino references in it.
Oh, really?
Was that? I thought so. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was like I always wanted to do like a blues that so the album or James riff is.
Yeah, that's a classic. Yeah.
So I just said, well, what happens if you just don't do if you don't do that?
Leave it away.
And the form. I just thought it was kind of fun and annoying at the same time. Is he ever going to change? But a lot of times, there's not anything I can do on this guitar that's never been done before, and so it's the little things that change up that kind of make it unique,
That kind of Jimmy Reed moment.
Jimmy Reed, yeah. Hubert Sumlin, all those kind of guys.
Now staying with the Cats and, and everybody knows I'm a big Billy Gibbons fan. There's that song "Heartache Follows Wherever I Go,"
Right.
which I really like.
Right.
And that has that for me that kind of Billy Gibbons groove moment.
Well, to me, it's I was trying to write a song like Robin Forward, right? Some adult chords in there, but no, it's that's a fun song to play, and I think it was essentially we did it in 1 or 2 takes. So.
How do you come up with this? I mean, you just name.
I just sit at home and jam. I just sit at home and jam, I'll play all day long. And all of a sudden you hear a riff, and all of a sudden you're like, you go, that's kind of cool. You hit, I'm not very tech savvy, but I know how to work the voice memo on the iPhone.
Okay.
You just, you go, that's kind of cool. What do you want to do with it? And you just jam on it for like 10 minutes. Then you listen back, and then you go, that's actually not too bad. Then you grab the little pieces of it that you like.
Does it ever happen that you do not play guitar and maybe listen to some albums?
Yeah, I do that a lot. I like to play, though. I play along with albums. That's my favorite thing to do.
So what kind of albums do you listen to when you're in preparation for our next album?
Oh, I never listen to albums to prep for another album because you don't want because ultimately what'll happen you start copying these things, But like when I'm at home, I listen to anything from Bruce Hornsby to Doc Watson, Danny Gatton to you name it, I listen to it.
Okay.
Albert King, Freddie King.
There's another song, Trouble Town, that really sticked out for me because it has this New Orleans vibe.
Yes, very much New Orleans. Like almost cross. Well, I say New Orleans. It's definitely a cross between like a Meters meets Little Feat, which Little Feat are not from New Orleans, but you get the drift.
I love the band. Yeah. Like, do you listen to pieces of Lowell George and stuff like that?
So much so I almost bought his amp. I came this close to buying Lowell's old amp, but
What kind of amp?
it was a Dumble.
It was a Dumble, okay.
And 410s, and with Altex, and I just huge Lowell George fan. Loved his playing. Loved his playing.
Am I right that beside the classic choice, the Les Paul, the 59
Right.
you play, there's some other guitars going on, or am I wrong?
Yeah, there's an EDS 1275 on this record, which is it's a 1958, and it's a spruce top, thick body double neck, probably one of 5 in Sunburst, and that was the 12-string parts. I used a fair amount of Telly on this record. I used the Strat on this record.
I was just gonna say that the Strat is kind of back on the album.
And but mostly I just used the 59 Les Paul through my live rig, which was 2 Silver Series Jubilees and 2 Dumble amps, and that's basically what I've been using in the studio, and it seems to work, But I also used the high-powered Tweed Twin on a track. I used on 2 or 3 tracks. I used the killer 65 twin reverb until I blew the speakers on one track. That was sounded just like Bloomfield, and then I blew the speakers.
Right.
So.
Do you use any special pedals or fast boxes? I don't think that I heard any fast boxes, but
I use I have Dunlop has been nice enough to make a Joe Bonamassa fuzz face. So when I use a fuzz face, I use that. On this record, I used a wah, which is my crybaby wah. I used a bit of the FET driver, bit of a tube screamer, and I used the POG. And that's
electro harmonics.
Yeah.
The small one or the big
The small one. I can't figure out how to use the big one. I like pedals with 3 knobs.
Yeah, me too.
And that's the octaver on the...
That's it. How much is Kevin Shirley, your producer, involved in, checking out the sounds? And
He engineers the record, yeah.
I know, but I was thinking about amps and some sound ideas that may have been new on the record.
Well, he allows me to kind of serve up the sound, We get the vibe of the track, and then I quickly run out into the amp room and set up a rig. And generally, like songs like Trouble Town, it was nothing but a 62 Brown Deluxe Fender and a reverb tank and a 55 Les Paul. And it sounded like 10 Marshall stacks linked together. Like on the more trad blues, I did everything, I gave up everything except the blues. It was nothing but a high-powered Tweed Twin from 1958 that I bought from Steven Seagal, the actor. My friend
yeah,
Steven
he's
Seagal.
a well-known vintage collector as
Yes.
well.
And I used that, and it sounded killer. And then for the more rock stuff, the Heartache Follows You Wherever You Go, that's basically my live rig. And so, you put different sounds together. I'll throw in an Echoplex here or a Univibe there or something like that. But generally, I'm pretty stick and rudder. I stick basically to what I know. I make it sound like a guitar. And generally, the guitar, with a few exceptions, is tuned in standard tuning, which is somehow a lost art. Leaving the guitar in standard tuning.
Right? Yeah, it's true.
It is just a lost art.
I think ZZ Top always playing standard tuning.
Always playing standard. Yeah. Well, except on Rhythmine where they were tuned down. But just got paid. It doesn't get heavier than that. These kids that tune the guitars down to places where a bass guitar lives. I don't get it. It doesn't sound heavy to me.
No.
Sounds actually less heavy.
It does. It sounds a little bit fluffy papered.
Yeah. And a guitar amp is not designed to replicate those frequencies.
Right.
The song "Oh Beautiful" is when I knew I had the record done. That was this riff. I wanted to do an a cappella song like an old gospel or a field holler, but I wanted to make it heavy, so it was this riff. That was, I know it sounds pretty simple, but in the context of the song. And then you cut to an a cappella verse, and then I wrote this section. It's kind of like a Zeppelin section. Solo. And that entire solo on the album was done in one take, and it was the only solo take I did on that song with a Telecaster. And I knew it was going to be the one that ended up on the record. I did them all with a Les Paul, except that one.
Okay.
So that's the only thing that's cut and paste. Kevin just cut and paste that solo section with the band on the track from before.
Amazing.
It is what it is, it's like, but it does work. So on the videos, you see me playing the Les Paul and then you'll see for the solo, I'm playing a Telecaster, but, that's the magic of studios and editing.
Yeah, kind of like it. But it's really interesting that, cats like you guys, last time Slash actually told us that when I asked him, does he compose his solo parts or does he just hammer them into the recording box? He says, I never compose. It's the solo parts develop during the jamming in the studio, during rehearsals. Is that the same thing with you?
I don't even have they have rehearsals?
Yeah.
They get to rehearse? No. We do 3 takes of the song and that's about it. First time I hit it, if I like where I'm going, fine. If the second time I hit it, I don't like it, by the third time, I need to make sure I get that solo covered. So, and then there's sometimes I'll overdub a solo if the rhythm section, if the rhythms are more complicated and you want to, so like I never give all your heart for love. That's a total. The entire solo was overdubbed.
Okay. Last question. What was the best moment in your career, and what was the worst moment in your career?
Best moment of my career, Eric Clapton walks out on stage in the Albert Hall, May 4th, 2009, plays Further On Up the Road, 6 minutes later, it's over. Worst moment in my career, I think, was how the band Black Country Communion ended. I think that was something I'll always regret, that wasn't handled better. And that was it.
Okay.
But nobody got hurt.
Joe, thank you very much for the interview.
You're very welcome.
That was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Das war Joe Bonamassa.